Hi guys, so let's take a look at the ways in which governments will generally try to tackle unemployment within an economy. Okay, firstly, this is through expansionary monetary policy. This is going to involve, in all likelihood, reductions in the rate of interest. Those reductions in the rate of interest will lower the cost of borrowing and lower the reward for saving. So therefore, consumers and households actually have an incentive to take on more borrowing because the costs are lower. That is assuming that there are profitable opportunities for businesses to invest in. But nevertheless, consumption and investment may well increase because of the lack of incentives in saving and the fact that borrowing costs are much reduced. Further to that, there's likely to also be an accompanying reduction or depreciation in the value of the pound. And that is likely to cause WIDEC, or weak pound, imports dear, exports cheap. So the exports in foreign markets will become more price competitive, and that may well help to actually boost the export industries within the UK economy. In extreme circumstances, the government, the Bank of England rather, may well actually think about conducting quantitative easing in addition to a reduction in interest rates, and that will have much the same sort of impact, reduced borrowing costs, and hopefully an increased level of aggregate demand ultimately. Next point is really about expansionary fiscal policy. So here this might be reductions in the base rate of tax to increase consumers' disposable income, and this may be targeted towards lower income earners in particular. In addition to that, there may be additional government spending which is actually conducted, and the government spending that is undertaken may well benefit from an additional multiplier effect. That is the reverberations of that money as it flows around the economy. Now, particularly interesting about this is how fiscal policy can also be used to target particular localities that may be in need of some sort of form of development and assistance because perhaps of high unemployment due to structural unemployment. So yes, expansionary fiscal policy is also another interesting policy tool that can be used when considering unemployment generally. Now, our third point really is about supply side policies. These supply side policies, these can be undertaken in a wide variety of different ways. If you can reduce barriers to entry when it comes to business startups, so reduce regulations and encourage people to actually move into entrepreneurship rather than being unemployed, again, that could be a real positive for the economy as a whole. In addition to that, it can also be about retraining and thinking about a new form of education for school leavers in advance of them entering the labour market. So examples of this, long-term policies that you may well see or have heard of include coding at primary schools, so students at primary schools writing code and understanding the way in which computers actually work in an effort really to encourage more students into computer science. Okay, so how effective are these policies likely to be? Well, of course, it's going to depend, and there's likely to be a conflict with other economic objectives, other macroeconomic objectives. So, for instance, when it comes to the expansionary fiscal policy, well, at the moment in the UK, we still run a significant government fiscal deficit. So conducting this is going to be controversial. In addition to this is going to be most effective where the multiplier is actually high within an economy. That is, the marginal propensity to consume is very high, and that multiplying effect through the economy will therefore be higher. We can also see some other evaluative points that I've put down here. Now, should you really be focusing on reducing unemployment, or is it more about actually tackling the problems that can result from longer term unemployment, such as social and mental health considerations perhaps? Okay, so what should really be the government's priority here? Further to that, how much influence do governments actually have in tackling unemployment when you consider the nature of the globalised economy in which we live in the UK? So, of course, demand conditions around the world are likely to have a significant impact on the actual total level of demand within the UK. Okay, now, what about unemployment figures? Do they truly represent what is taking place within society? So, for instance, in the UK, certainly from the period around about 2010 through to about 2014, the number of people that were underemployed was particularly high. That is, a lot of people working in part-time employment. And of course, they're not actually officially on the claimant count or on the labour force survey, therefore. Okay, so that's another interesting area to actually focus in on. Okay, and the final one here, type of unemployment. Is it the type of unemployment which is the real issue, or should you be more concerned about the size of the level of unemployment? Asking these sorts of questions in your evaluation, in your final judgment, very, very powerful, and really does show the depth of understanding that you actually possess about this concept. Okay, so this is real high grade A level work here. It really is. Okay, hope that's all right, guys.